Imagine standing in the freezing sub-zero winds of the last ice age, completely exposed to a deadly frost that could freeze your bare flesh in mere minutes. Long before the invention of modern textile factories, automated sewing machines, or synthetic clothing stores, our ancient ancestors faced this exact, terrifying reality. How did early humans manage to conquer the most brutal winters in Earth's history without a single warm coat or tailored shop in sight? Today, we are going to uncover the shocking and brilliant secrets behind humanity's very first garments. You will discover that the creation of ancient clothing was not just about staying warm, but an epic milestone that completely changed the course of human evolution. Let us step back in time over 40,000 years ago, deep into the heart of the Upper Paleolithic era. The world was gripped by a severe glacial period, where massive sheets of ice covered entire continents and temperatures plummeted to unimaginable lows. Early humans, specifically Neanderthals and early Homo sapiens, had to find a creative way to trap their own body heat or face total extinction. But human skin alone is thin, hairless, and completely inadequate against the unforgiving wrath of freezing glacial winds. Nature, however, provided the raw materials in the form of wild animals, and human ingenuity did the rest of the work. The very first form of clothing in human history was simple, raw, and entirely dependent on the survival skills of the local hunter. When a prehistoric hunter successfully brought down a large mammal like a woolly mammoth, a reindeer, or a cave bear, nothing was ever wasted. The thick hide of the animal became the ultimate shield against the freezing elements. However, stripping the skin off an animal was only the very first step in a long, grueling, and meticulous manufacturing process. If a fresh animal hide was simply left to dry out in the air, it would instantly harden into a stiff, brittle board that was completely impossible to wear. To turn a raw skin into a flexible, wearable garment, ancient humans had to invent complex chemical and physical processes thousands of years before modern chemistry existed. This ancient technique is known as tanning, and it required an astonishing amount of labor, patience, and resourcefulness. First, every single trace of flesh, fat, and tissue clinging to the inner side of the skin had to be scraped away completely by hand. Ancient people used sharp flint stones, obsidian flakes, and carved bone scrapers to meticulously clean the hides without tearing them. If even a tiny patch of organic fat was left behind, the hide would rot, smell terrible, and attract dangerous predators to their campsites. Once the hide was thoroughly scraped, the true magic of ancient biochemistry began. Our ancestors discovered that treating the skin with specific natural substances could soften the fibers and make them permanently supple. What disgusting yet ingenious substance did they use to achieve this miraculous softening effect? Believe it or not, ancient humans used the brains, liver, and fat of the animal itself to tan its own skin. Every single large mammal contains just enough natural oils and emulsifying fats in its brain to soften its own hide. The hunters would mash up the animal's brain into a thick paste and vigorously rub it deep into the fibers of the skin. In other regions of the ancient world, people used stale urine, fermented plant juices, or wood smoke to achieve a similar tanning effect. Smoking the hide over a controlled, smoldering fire was particularly brilliant because the chemical compounds in the smoke preserved the leather and prevented it from rotting when wet. After hours of massaging and stretching the skin by hand, the hide was finally soft, flexible, and ready to be shaped. But how did they join multiple pieces of hide together without modern thread, steel needles, or industrial glue? This brings us to one of the most remarkable inventions in human history, the bone needle. Archaeological evidence shows that carved needles made from bird bones, fish bones, and mammal splinters date back tens of thousands of years. Creating a bone needle was an exercise in extreme patience and microscopic precision. A craftsman had to carefully split a bone, grind it down against abrasive sandstone, and drill a tiny, microscopic eye through the top using a sharpened flint drill. Imagine trying to drill a hole through a delicate bird bone without modern electricity or magnifying glasses. One single slip of the hand meant hours of painstaking work were ruined instantly. With these delicate bone needles in hand, ancient tailors began using natural threads to stitch garments together. What did they use for thread before nylon and cotton were invented? They turned to the toughest natural fibers available in their environment, such as animal tendons, known as sinew. Sinew is pulled from the legs and back of large animals like deer and horses, offering incredible tensile strength. When sinew is split into thin strands and slightly moistened, it becomes flexible like thread, but once it dries, it locks the stitches together with industrial-grade tightness. In addition to animal sinew, ancient people also utilized plant fibers extracted from the stems of hemp, flax, stinging nettles, and tree bark. These plant fibers were beaten, soaked, and twisted into durable cords that could be woven or sewn into multi-layered garments. As a result, early humans were not just walking around in single-wrapped blankets of fur. They were wearing carefully tailored coats, trousers, boots, and hats. Recent archaeological discoveries from cold regions like Siberia and Central Europe have revealed ancient burials where clothing was remarkably sophisticated. Skeletons were found adorned with beaded tunics, fur-lined boots, and fitted caps, proving that ancient style and comfort mattered just as much as survival. But as the ice sheets began to melt and the global climate warmed up at the end of the last ice age, human clothing technology took another massive leap forward. People no longer needed heavy, thick layers of bear and mammoth fur to stay alive during mild summers. This environmental shift forced humanity to invent an entirely new category of textiles, woven fabrics. Instead of relying solely on hunted animal hides, humans learned to cultivate plants and harvest animal fleeces specifically for clothing. This monumental transition marks the true birth of agriculture, textiles, and fashion as we know it today. Let us explore how ancient civilizations like the early Egyptians, Mesopotamians, and Chinese revolutionized the world of cloth production. In the fertile river valleys of ancient Egypt, the blazing desert sun demanded light, breathable, and reflective clothing. The Egyptians turned to flax, a remarkable plant that grows abundantly along the banks of the Nile River. Harvesting flax was a labor-intensive process that required soaking the stalks in water to rot away the woody outer layer, a process known as retting. Once the inner fibers were liberated, they were beaten, combed, and spun into fine, luxurious linen yarn. Egyptian linen was so fine and translucent that it was often called woven air, keeping the wearer cool in the scorching desert heat. Meanwhile, on the opposite side of the globe in ancient China, a completely different miracle of textile engineering was unfolding. Legend has it that around 5,000 years ago, Empress Lizu was sitting under a mulberry tree when a silkworm cocoon accidentally dropped into her hot cup of tea. As she pulled at the softening cocoon, a continuous, shimmering, and incredibly strong filament began to unravel from the tiny bug. That accidental discovery unlocked the closely guarded secret of silk production, transforming China into an economic superpower through the legendary Silk Road. Silk was not just a fabric, it was a symbol of immense wealth, status, and divine royalty that ordinary citizens were forbidden to wear. In the Americas, indigenous populations mastered the art of working with entirely different natural resources. The ancient Incas and Andean cultures bred domesticated alpacas and llamas, shearing their thick, warm wool to weave intricate, colorful garments that could withstand freezing mountain altitudes. Mesoamerican civilizations like the Maya and Aztecs cultivated wild cotton, dyeing the soft fibers with brilliant colors extracted from cochineal bugs, indigo plants, and crushed seashells. Every single culture on Earth developed its own unique signature style based entirely on the climate and flora available in its immediate surroundings. But how were these yarns actually turned into sheets of cloth before the invention of electric power looms? The answer lies in the creation of the drop spindle and the manual hand loom. A drop spindle is a simple yet ingenious tool consisting of a weighted disc attached to a wooden shaft. By spinning the weighted shaft in the air, a spinner could twist loose raw fibers into a continuous, strong thread with astonishing speed and uniformity. Once thousands of yards of thread were spun, the weaving process could finally begin. The primitive hand loom involved stretching a series of parallel threads, known as the warp, across a wooden frame. The weaver would then pass another thread, known as the weft, alternately over and under the warp threads, row by row, crossing back and forth millions of times. A solid, durable sheet of fabric emerged from the wooden frame. This repetitive, rhythmic motion formed the rhythmic heartbeat of human civilization for thousands of years. Clothing was so valuable in ancient and medieval times that garments were listed in official wills and passed down as precious family heirlooms across generations. A single dress or tunic represented hundreds of hours of exhausting human labor, from planting the seeds or hunting the animal to spinning, weaving, and tailoring. People rarely owned more than 2 or 3 sets of clothes in their entire lifetimes, patching and repairing them endlessly until the fabric literally fell apart. Furthermore, clothing served as a silent language that instantly communicated a person's social class, occupation, marital status, and tribal identity. Certain colors, such as Tyrian purple in the ancient Mediterranean, were so rare and expensive to produce from sea snails that they were reserved exclusively for emperors and kings. If a commoner was caught wearing purple, they could face immediate execution for violating strict sumptuary laws. Embroidery and decorative patterns also told stories of victories, religious beliefs, and protection against evil spirits. When we look at our modern closets overflowing with fast fashion items that we wear once and throw away, it is easy to forget the staggering human ingenuity required to make them possible. Every time you pull on a pair of jeans, a cotton shirt, or a warm winter jacket, you are carrying on a tradition that is over 40,000 years old. You are wearing the legacy of ancient hunters, ingenious inventors, patient weavers, and brilliant chemists who figured out how to conquer the elements out of pure survival instinct. Without their quiet, grueling, and revolutionary breakthroughs, human civilization as we know it could never have expanded across the freezing corners of the globe. Think about that the next time you complain about not having anything to wear in your closet. If you had to travel back in time to the deep ice age and create your own winter wardrobe entirely from scratch, do you think you would survive the first week? Would you have the patience to scrape animal fat, drill bone needles, and spin wild plant fibers by hand? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below, and do not forget to share your favorite survival trick with us. Thank you for joining us on this incredible historical journey through the evolution of human clothing. If you enjoyed uncovering these forgotten secrets of our ancestors, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Stay curious, keep exploring our fascinating history, and we will see you all in the next video. Let us dive even deeper into the hidden daily routines of these ancient garment makers. Imagine waking up before dawn in a dark, chilly cave with frost glistening on the stone walls. Your family has only one set of worn-out leather boots left, and the winter snow is falling heavily outside. Every member of the tribe had a specific job assigned according to their age, strength, and experience. The strongest hunters tracked down the large beasts, while the elders and children gathered smaller materials and tended to the processing pits. This cooperative teamwork was the true secret weapon that allowed early humans to survive when other species perished. As generations passed, these survival techniques transformed into intricate cultural traditions and artistic expressions. People began using red ochre, charcoal, and natural mineral pigments to dye their leather garments with striking geometric patterns. Bone pins were polished until they gleamed like ivory, serving as both functional fasteners and early fashion accessories. Shells, animal teeth, and polished stones were stitched directly onto garments, creating shimmering ornaments that caught the flickering firelight. Clothing was no longer merely a physical barrier against the cold. It had become an art form and a profound statement of personal identity. When we trace the thread of history from a crude piece of scraped mammoth hide to the sophisticated looms of ancient empires, we see the unstoppable rise of human creativity. Every stitch tells a story of perseverance, ingenuity, and the relentless drive to master the natural world. We hope this deep dive into the origins of ancient clothing has opened your eyes to the incredible history woven into every thread of our daily lives. Take a moment to appreciate the extraordinary journey of our ancestors who stitched humanity together against the biting chill of time. If you found this historical revelation fascinating, share this video with a friend who loves history and ancient mysteries. Remember to leave your thoughts below. Subscribe for more fascinating journeys into the past, and stay tuned for our next epic exploration. The journey of textile innovation did not stop with the invention of the hand loom or the discovery of silk. Across every continent, inventive minds continued to push the boundaries of what could be spun, woven, and worn. From the bark cloth beaten by indigenous tribes in the Pacific Islands to the intricate feather cloaks of ancient Hawaii, human creativity knew no bounds. Each material tells a unique story of adaptation, proving that necessity truly is the mother of all invention. As we reflect on these ancient milestones, we are reminded of how far we have traveled from the freezing caves of the Ice Age. Yet, the fundamental desire to express ourselves through what we wear remains unchanged after tens of thousands of years. Thank you once again for watching, and may your own wardrobe always keep you warm and inspired. Until next time, keep looking back into the past to better understand the brilliant future we are building together. Goodbye, history lovers, and see you very soon in our next thrilling documentary adventure.